You just did that. You did that. I hate you.
Like 30 seconds.
I'm like, is that gonna? Are you gonna give me my cue? Can I speak now?
Oh well. Now we killed Joseph. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
Just
thank
give
you.
it just like 5 seconds in between, like when you turn the microphone on to when you start your intro.
No, this is gonna be the intro right here. All of that. This is
No,
gonna be-
just because like
Welcome back to the Last Word Podcast. As always, my name is Jay. We're here with
I'm Rabbit
and
and I'm
special
tired.
special guest. If you haven't guessed, special guest Joseph is back.
Hi. If you didn't hear my cackle, I am here, and I'm not going to do the same joke. I've cummed yet again.
Once again.
Of course, as always, here we are.
I have
Yeah.
a very small repertoire, so come on.
Work with what you got.
What,
Right.
what you got and what you're not. Wait, not with what you're not. Oh, that was good.
I don't understand.
Yeah, same.
Oh,
How's
God.
everybody doing?
I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
really good
Yeah.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's that time of year.
Which is
Not fun
Yeah.
for
Not
anyone.
Not fun time of year.
It's the transition
We're-
from fun holiday to what are we doing here holiday.
exactly. Yes.
Exactly.
Thanksgiving is coming up, and we're right there.
It came so quickly. We're already in mid-November.
Mm.
The year's over.
Yeah.
Hello 2020, new decade. 2020. Yeah, that's the decade. I was like,
Yeah, it is.
is that right?
You were right. Yeah.
I was right.
It is.
Feels good.
New decade, new me.
But yeah.
Oh boy.
Thanksgiving. I'm not thanks living.
No.
For it. But that's coming up. So Halloween is over.
Yeah, and that's last we spoke, or at least not we spoke, but last you were on the podcast.
I'm not. They don't speak to
We
me
don't speak to him
until I walk through the door
unless he's on the
for the
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't speak
We have no
anymore.
interactions.
They don't even text me. They send word via pigeon,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Please come over for recording."
Yeah.
I have no
No.
correspondence
You've
after
been-
that.
No, we
Yeah.
don't. We don't have pigeons. Well,
Um,
we could if we wanted to. We could have pigeons.
Last we spoke while recording, it was the eve of Halloween,
Yes.
and now turkey time.
Now, yeah, the eve of turkey time, turkey day.
Ugh.
Gross.
Well, I mean, I have some funny stories like to tell you about Thanksgiving, but what else is going on?
Yeah,
What else
have
is
you-
going on?
What have you been up to?
Let's see. I got a mattress.
Oh goodness, tell us about the mattress.
So, I purchased a mattress, and then it got shipped to me, and that's it. No,
Oh.
it came in a little
Wonderful
box.
story.
It came into a little box, and I was like, "How does a mattress fit in a box?" And so my dumbass was like, trying to like figure out math again, and I was like, "This is not physically possible." So I like take my mattress out of the box, I'm unwrapping it, and all of a sudden it just like pops open. Like it's like a can of like biscuits, you know?
Yeah, where
like
did
right
you
before.
order it from?
I got it from my friend who works for a place who got it for me at a good price.
Oh,
So-
cool. Because that sounds like how we ordered our mattress. And
Yeah.
yeah, it came up in a box, rolled up in a box. It was a big box, but
Oh yeah.
it wasn't until we
Hefty.
took it out and we started like cutting the plastic that like inflated.
It started.
Yeah,
it started coming
inflated
to life,
itself.
and I had it in a really awkward position, and it was like, it was inflating and knocking shit over, and I was like, oh my god! And my cats were like freaking out,
You're not
and I
prepared
was
for
not at all prepared for this mattress in a box. I was like, you guys, science is incredible.
Look how far we've come.
Look how far. I haven't come very far, but everybody else is doing okay.
Well, but I mean,
Yeah.
you're an adult. You're buying yourself a mattress. That's.
You're right. No longer sleeping on a box, being on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
That was the good old college days. And last weekdays.
no.
No.
Up until last week.
Just kidding.
Yeah, just a week ago.
But yeah, and the mattress like inflated magically, and then I let it just like settle. It said 24 hours. I was like, but I have to sleep tonight, so
Right.
So I like lay into this cloud of comfort and ease, and you could feel like my crickety back be like, yes, and I was just like, is this what comfort feels like? It's been a while. It's been a while.
That's what our mattress felt like.
Yeah.
Once we got it.
It was like a whole new world.
Yep.
Disney Plus.
We got Disney Plus.
Oh, so that just launched very recently. So I had texted my mom and my sister in a group chat because they're like the only people that I'll text in my family, and I was like, very important family question: do we get free Disney Plus? And my sister was like, I second this, and my mom was like, what's that? And I was like, Mom, Netflix for Disney, get on board. And I was like, so do we have a login? Do we have a password? And my mom just sent like dancer emojis. And I'm like, this is not a laughing matter, Norma.
It's also not a password.
Get your shit together. I don't want your Bitmojis, whatever you're about to send.
Right.
And I think it was like 2 days later, she like ghosted me as she normally does. Thanks, Mom.
Oh,
I get it.
your own mother.
I get it. And then 2 days later, she like texted me. She was like, "Hey, the password's ready. It's all good to go." And this was literally we were working together, and so I was along with a few managers at work. That's when I got the text as we're at work. So I go over to Jay's manager, and I'm like, "Hey, I have some really crazy family news. I just got a text message." And Jay's manager's like, eyes wide in, is looking at me, and I was like, my mom sent me the Disney Plus password, so I'm gonna have to go home to watch that now. Which is
what a tragedy.
the best thing I could have done. And she was like, Joseph!
Right.
Thought somebody died.
Yeah, as you were telling her that, I was like working on a computer, and so I heard like family emergency, and like I got a text family emergency. I was doing stuff, and then I didn't hear the other part also, and so then I stood up and I was like, "What happened?" And like, so I was like, "What happened?" And then, I got Disney Plus. I have to go.
I have to go.
Like, yeah.
That.
Okay. Understandable though, because Disney Plus is pretty awesome.
We have almost only been watching Disney Plus for like 3 days now.
Yep.
I think my Twitter feed is literally just people posting like clips of old ass shows, and I'm like, this is the best week of my life.
Yeah, really.
Half of them I don't know,
Well,
but
like,
That's So Raven, I was like, yes.
There's so many like old Disney movies that I haven't seen. Like I've never seen Aladdin. I haven't seen like Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast. I'm excited to watch all of those.
You haven't seen any of those?
Well, they were a little before my time. Like I came in like as like the Lion King. Like, and that was in like what, like 92, right?
No, they're
like
timeless movies, and everybody should watch them.
Well, it's true, but now I get
Except
to.
for Disney.
Now I can.
But not really.
But now
I'm on board.
Disney Plus.
Now you can. Now you can catch up. Yeah, no, incredible, best thing, never been done before.
Yeah.
Truly innovative. I mean, except not all those things, but Disney Plus launched, changed all of our lives. Really reminiscing about
the world.
Yeah, I'm reminiscing like crazy, and I'm just going through like the menu, like the like the vault's little like section, and I was like, oh. Yeah.
Some of the ones that like I was so excited about was like Disney Channel original movies, like that were like straight to TV. Like, you know, we've talked about Halloween Town before, so they have all of those. But then, like, and like Brink, which was the rollerblading one, which is just so silly. There's one.
What about the one with the house?
Smart House.
Smart House.
Yep. Yeah, that
Do they
one's
have
good.
all those?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Almost all of them. I think they're still missing. Johnny Tsunami.
Oh,
Where he's
man.
like the surfer, and then he like moves or some shit. I have to watch it. He's like a snowboarder. All those, all those were like probably really silly,
Stupid,
movies.
great movies.
Those were a big part of my childhood. So, and the fact that they're just right there now, right?
Readily available.
Watch them whenever we want.
It's pretty awesome.
Goodbye, productivity.
Exactly.
Hello. Absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
That's a vibe. What else is new? I went to Austin, Texas.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's all about that. What else?
Nothing else. Okay.
Nothing else about it.
Huh.
No, I have a as I've grown older, I have really big phobias about going to like bigger cities. So, this was around the time when you guys went to
Pack Silver.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna go, but I had some friends that had moved there a few months back, and a few months back while they were moving, we made plans to go visit them during this time of year. And so everybody was going through with it, and I was like, I can't back down. Like, they've made plans, they've gone the weekend off, like, I have to go. And it was a good thing I put that I didn't have a plan B. I didn't have an option not to go, because I really did enjoy myself. Austin is an interesting city, as far as cities go, but it's kind of enjoyable. I'm mostly at the time. They took us thrifting everywhere, which was great. We went to like the Buffalo Exchange in Austin, which was like this exact same thing as anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like those workers that have like 3-hour shifts and they're just like walking around like, you know, and they're like little hodgepodge outfits. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, the Buffalo Exchange.
It's a thing.
It's not a vibe. No, it's an interesting store. But we went to a bunch of places in Austin. I think I would recommend it, but I would have to spend more time there to recommend it to anybody.
The city itself.
Yeah. I think it like really kind of portrays itself outwardly as like a very diverse place, but from what I saw, it didn't seem like that. It still just seemed like a bunch of Texans walking around. Yeah. But not to say there wasn't diversity there. It was just wasn't the focal point. Right. You know.
Or as much as they'd like to think.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's an interesting city.
Yeah. So. We were supposed to go there 2 years ago. When we went to Santa Fe, we actually had all planned a trip to Austin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But we went to Santa Fe instead because things happened.
Yeah. Well, Javi and Maribel couldn't afford the big trip because like 6 hours versus 12 hours? Yeah. And then we were planning on staying there longer. Right. Oh, so we kind of had to cut our trip in half and then go somewhere closer to home.
Well, yeah, the good thing, I carpooled with somebody else who was going to go with, and the good thing was that we stayed with our friends. So we didn't have to pay for an Airbnb. We didn't have to do any of that. It was just kind of readily available. So I understand why it could really add up, though.
Yeah. Well, it worked out anyway because during that time there was like flooding too, and so a lot of places were closed.
Yeah, half of like Austin.
Like the water wasn't clean to drink, and like all kinds of stuff was going on. So it was like, oh, it's better that it didn't work out like that.
And we had an awesome time in Santa Fe.
Yeah. And I've been to Austin once before, but it was back when we were still in high school. So I don't know if I got any. Right. It seemed cool.
Yeah, you know, I've never been there.
And different from like a normal Texas city I've been to, but
yeah,
I don't know how I'd feel about it now, you know.
I think it's interesting because it feels like the city never expected. First of all, Austin's the capital of Texas, which boggles my mind every time I hear that. I'm like, is it?
Yeah, I was gonna say like that doesn't.
Yeah, it's the capital of Texas.
It doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that sounds. It really doesn't. But it feels like the city never expected to be as big as it got. So everything there is so small. Like the parking lots, like is this a parking? Let's park here. It's very that. It's interesting though, but I mean, if you have the chance to go, I wouldn't not recommend it. Mm-hmm. Which is my biggest blessing.
I wouldn't not recommend it.
That's an A+ from me.
I'm not gonna tell you to go, but I'm not gonna say to not go.
To not go.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, that's good. I mean,
ambivalence.
Traveling always seems to be a good idea, and like experiencing new places and stuff like that always seems to give a good type of perspective.
Yeah. And it really helped that the friends we went to go visit, I adore them. They're creatives and they're just super talented, and they really just like created such a good environment for me. So for somebody who was very anxious and was like kind of freaking out here every now and then, it was just a trip done really well on their part, so I really appreciate that.
Good.
The best of hosts.
Right.
I would not recommend them as friends.
Oh, that's great.
Just kidding.
Which is as high as it goes. Sounds like an insult, but that's actually a pretty good compliment.
That's me singing praise.
Yeah.
What about for you both? Anything new? Did you buy a mattress recently?
Not recently. I think it's been like almost a year now.
Yeah.
Since we bought our mattress, but we love it. We miss it like when we go away.
You sleep other places and you're like, dang,
like this sucks.
Yeah. It's like if you've ever like when you sleep on a different pillow and you're not used to it. It's like that, but like your whole body. So it kind of sucks.
You're surrounded by the unknown.
Yeah, you kind of ruin it yourself a little bit with sleep, because it made a difference as far as sleeping goes. I feel like for me, I used to sleep pretty well anyway, but now I'm comatose sleep sometimes. Yeah.
I'm so alert when I'm sleeping. It's very weird. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm up like at least 4 or 5 times a night, and it's no longer like I was restless. It's like, no, that's just normal. That's just my sleeping patterns. I'll wake up, adjust, wake up. No, I'm not dead. Turn around. One of my cats will push open the door, and so I'll adjust myself because he likes to like sleep at my feet. So I have to like, all right, we're gonna lock this sleeping position down because I'm not moving for the next 4 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I sleep.
Kind of. How do I sleep at night? Kind of.
I kind of sleep.
I kind of sleep at night.
No, you fall asleep really quickly.
Yeah.
And usually you'll stay asleep.
Yeah. I almost have no problems.
Me, I'm a little bit more restless, like Joseph is, because it takes me a long time to get to sleep, at least like 15 minutes, maybe 20, and then most of the time, I'll at least wake up like twice during the night, not be able to get back to sleep right away, and then kind of toss and turn for a while, and then eventually go back to sleep. So I'm kind of restless sleeper.
Yeah. And you like to talk and stuff before sleeping.
Yeah, I do like to talk before we sleep.
And I'm fine with it, but what my problem is that in my brain or with my body, as soon as I start laying down in bed, I start sleeping. Like that's just like what almost the reaction. So eventually, like I can talk, and sometimes I can, no problem. But sometimes I start falling asleep.
Yeah, he falls asleep on me
as she's talking.
Like I'll be talking, and then all of a sudden, like I'll take a short pause, and he'll snore.
So it works both ways sometimes. But I've never generally don't have a problem falling asleep at all.
No,
I'm out
really.
like a light.
Not very often. There's sometimes where you will.
Yeah. Like
if we're doing something the next day, or if we have somewhere to be.
Lucky bitch.
Yeah. I mean, what stops you from sleeping? Does your mind race? Do you think about things?
I'm a very I don't know when it came about. I'm a very picky person, so I'll adjust from sleeping on my side to my back, but if I'm sleeping on my back, I have to fold my pillow.
Has to be exactly
and
right.
It can't be the side of the pillow that's touching my face because I freak out about my skin because I have a very sensitive skin. And so if I'm sleeping on my side, I have to unfold the pillow that's the side of the pillowcase that can touch my face. And that, besides my cats coming in and out and other things, like a very finicky sleeper. It's not my proudest moment, but that's who I am now. This is the person I've become. I fucking sleep weird.
Everything has to be right.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense for Joseph, but I don't think it's like I'm picky about, because I can pretty much fall asleep anywhere if I'm tired enough, but I don't know, just like, yeah, like my brain doesn't shut down, my body doesn't want to shut down. And it's not like I have racing thoughts or I'm like really anxious. I just don't sleep. And I used to be like that when I was a kid too. Like going to bed at 8 o'clock just like was never a thing. And my mom mentioned that because my niece was having problems sleeping, that she can't get her to sleep any earlier either. And I kept telling her, it's like, well, Mom, I used to be like that too. And then she's like, oh yeah, that's right. So I don't know. I can easily just stay up until 2 in the morning. Just naturally.
Well, I think a lot of times too, even if it's not anxiety or racing thoughts, when I lay down, my brain's like, oh, time to sleep. Like that switches on, and for you, it's like, oh, it's time to think about everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like your brain brings like, I don't know.
Sometimes, yeah, when I go to lay down, you know, and it's dark, there's no light, there's nothing else. Yeah, sometimes thoughts will come and I'll just keep thinking about stuff. But for the most part, it's just like, no, I'm awake. I'm still just as awake as I was. So.
It's always at those times, too, that you have, like, the weirdest memories. And you'll be like, fuck, I did that one time.
Sometimes
and
that does happen to me.
It's just like the memory recall. Like, oh, I did get that drunk that one time at the gay bar 7 years ago. Yeah. Wow, I did make a fool of myself. I did accidentally hit that drag queen in the nuts. Because I was dancing widely.
Wait, was this real?
This is real. This happened.
Oh, wow.
No, yeah, this happened, and then I'll just memory recall that before I'm trying to sleep, and I'm like, you're an idiot. What is that drag queen doing? I wonder if they still do drag.
Wait, so tell me about this escapade.
I mean, thankfully my dreams don't involve drag queens, but.
Most of mine do.
It wasn't a dream.
Oh no, it actually happened. It actually happened.
This is not a dream, and that's what I'm saying. Tell me about this.
Yes.
Okay, so I went to Albuquerque to visit my friend. We did a lot of crazy stuff actually. I don't know if I told you guys, that's the trip where I tried the sensory deprivation tanks.
No, you never told us.
Oh, we can talk about those too because those are crazy.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to do it again, but I don't. But I do. But so I went up for a weekend trip in Albuquerque, and one of the nights we ended up going out, and we met up with a couple of other friends that had also moved up to Albuquerque, and we were drinking as one does.
And this was, you said, 7 years ago?
I don't know if it was quite that long ago,
but it was a while ago.
It was only like 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember.
That's still a good amount.
It was a while.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards 4. So I wasn't that young. There's not that much of an excuse. So we got drunk and we ended up going to I think it's like the Big Gay Club. I think it's called FX or something like that. It has like multiple stories where you can like go up a level and there's different DJs and stuff. So we were at the top level, which is the roof patio area, and by that time I'm drunk and I'm just like dancing, like my hands are going all over the place.
No one's watching.
Yes, although people were watching, so I don't know what the fuck. That saying is just is there to fuck you over. Exactly. Then you end up on Twitter and you're like, shit. Exactly. People were watching you dance like a fool.
You go viral. And then...
Yeah.
So there was a drag entertainer, or maybe just a patron there that was in drag. And they walked past me right as my hand, and it just met.
Big move.
I don't know if they were tucked or not, but I definitely hit that area, and that drag queen like reeled over and was like, oh, and I was like, oh my God. And I was very apologetic. I like went up to the drag queen. I was like, I'm so sorry. And the drag queen looked at me. I'll never forget this. The drag queen looked at me and said, do you know who I am? And me and my drunken stupor, I was like, no. So I thought they were, and the drag queen responded, and you never will, and walked away. And I was like, yes, get me. Put the nail in my coffin. It was crazy. Goodness. Like, and then the drag queen walked off, and then I just, like, I don't know if I stopped dancing out of shame or if I went right back to it.
Going to it, right?
I don't know. I think I was probably taken aback, and I had to go, like, to my friends and be like,
I just hit a drag queen in the nuts.
That was the best moment of my life. That drag queen told me to fuck off.
That's the best and worst moment of my life.
Yeah, like it's funny that you can still appreciate that whole like I don't know, conversation.
I want to be told off by a drag queen.
Right?
It's a good life lesson that I will literally never forget. And you never will. I kind of want to get that tattooed, like, in a very visible area.
Right. And you never will. Like, the fact that, you could appreciate that whole exchange, even though you were in it, and it, like, so it was directed with you, but if you were just watching it from the outside, it would have been like, damn!
Yeah, for sure.
That's funny that that can still be appreciated.
That's not one of my goals in life.
I mean, just go. I'll take it to El Paso, and we'll go to the gay bars there, and it'll happen. They're, the drag queens in El Paso were very sassy.
They'll just tell her off in Spanish, so she won't understand.
Yeah, that's true. I won't.
We'll have to go somewhere else.
I'll be like, I would try to translate that for you, but I don't even know half those words. That was a fuck. I'm not quite sure if they said that, but
they also said it really fast.
Yeah.
But it was
like,
not sure what that was.
I'm like, oh, we don't want to know where our grandchildren.
Yeah, they would. That moment would be wasted on me. And then my luck, that'd be the only interaction I have with a drag queen.
Right.
Still a good story though.
Yeah, so just enjoying it. So right when you're gonna put on the razzle dazzle, you're gonna go for it, and then, you put on the razzle dazzle.
Did you ever see the drag queen again?
I didn't. So their words came true. I'll never know who that drag queen was.
And even in that night, you never saw her again?
I don't think I looked.
Right.
You didn't
because I was very drunk. I was very drunk, but also very, very vividly remember what happened.
Well.
So it was a very sobering moment, perhaps, and it was like,
that makes sense.
I need to change my entire life. I didn't, but the thought crossed my mind.
It at least came to you.
But it was also during that trip that I tried the sensory deprivation tank.
Yeah.
So what happened?
We heard of
so what
this?
happened?
Yeah,
because we saw them on not Good Mythical Morning, or was it?
It was.
It was on Good Mythical Morning, where Rhett and Link
did a sensory deprivation chank.
Yeah.
Chank.
Tank.
That sounds like
sensory deprivation tank.
So me and my friend really wanted to try it. Well, he tried it before. He recommended it for me. He said it was a really good just tool for him to kind of get in contact with himself again, and just kind of, it's a very interesting thing to go through, because I think the idea is, I don't know if it was born from this. I don't know if somebody's just like, hey, just go into this tub and I'm going to close the lid and you can't hear anything. Also, it's filled with salt. So I don't know who came up with that. But I think the idea is to kind of mimic the environment of the womb.
Yeah,
so,
that sounds right.
I mean, I first saw a sensory deprivation tank on the Fox show Fringe, which was very good for a few seasons. Leonard Nimoy was on it.
Oh.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
But she would get into the tank to activate her powers. Her, like, special powers, I believe, is the plot. I could be wrong. It's been a while since Fringe was on the air. But we went about it. We went to this place. It was they were very welcoming, but it was very, I think it was a little bit more of a vibe that I wasn't expecting. I don't like the term new age, or I don't know if I don't like the term, but that sounds just like a lame term to use. But there was like signs on the walls and all this stuff. But everybody was really nice and welcoming. So we went in, we took a shower. Like you go in and I think you rinse off your body, and then I don't remember the specifics. I think you do have to go in nude. Was I naked? What am I not? What am I not in a dark room?
Oh my God.
But no, I don't remember if I was naked. But you put on protection. You have to make sure if you have any cuts that they're covered, because they do put, I believe it's Epsom salt in the water, so it's easily buoyant, so you can float really easy. And then you go in the tank. You close the lid, and it's soundproof, and you're just kind of floating in this space. Soundproof,
pitch black.
Right, you're
floating in this liquid. Of course, you don't want to open your eyes in the salt. The salt water. You don't want to accidentally breathe it in. So most of the time, like you're laying on your back and you're floating, and it was a really crazy moment. The first time I got really freaked out because my mind went to a very like scary scenario where hands were like grabbing me and like dragging me into the deep, because I'm a very much so afraid of the ocean. And so I had to get out of the tank. And then once I like calmed myself down, I went back into the tank and I like closed it, and I really allowed I emptied my thoughts this time. I just emptied it and I just allowed myself to be in the moment. I was breathing. It's a very just crazy sensation of being weightless in an environment that's not stimulating you, and it's stimulating you, but because there's no stimulation,
right?
Like there's like a different part of like your brain.
Yeah, there's no sounds to distract you. There's nothing visual to distract you. It's just you in this like whole different universe. I would say if you're claustrophobic, or have kind of those kind of fears, I wouldn't recommend it, but I would say if you're not and you can handle that, try it out, because
this is something I would like to try.
It's quite intense, and then afterwards you're just like existing in the world again, and you're just kind of like you feel out of place. Like I imagine like the Matrix, like you're woken up and you're like in a different place and you go back into the Matrix. But obviously that's not what I'm implying, but like if I could equate pop culture to the sensation, that's what I would say. But it was a really crazy experience, and I mean there's one in Albuquerque, so you guys should definitely go.
That's interesting.
I think I'd like to try this. This sounds awesome.
Yeah, people go for different reasons. Mine was more to experience it. I didn't have like an end goal. I think you can try it either way. You don't have to specifically be like, oh, I really want to like focus on, this or that. Just go and experience it. Yeah. It's an interesting thing, and it's also like it's not like physically laborious, and it's not like dangerous, so it's a cool thing to try.
Did you have any like vivid experiences while you were in there other than the hands, the scary one?
Once the scary stuff kind of processed specifically, and I don't know if I could put it into words, but I do remember just like a calm and a peace, and just my mind just kind of like, I felt like I was moving places and I wasn't moving. I was in a different place entirely, and it was really kind of very strange and interesting and new. It was a really new feeling for me.
Wow.
And so I wouldn't say, I couldn't necessarily like describe it with a word, but that was the sensation that I felt in my experience.
Wow, that's very cool. Yeah, I've been interested in trying to experience something like that before, just because it seems interesting, I think the closest I've come to experiencing something like that just normally is sleeping here. There's noise, there's the road, there's always something, but then like going back to Silver and there's no road, and there's nothing. It's
there's
complete
no
silence, and there's no lights either. There's no street lights from the window, nothing. So it's complete silence and complete darkness. And I think the closest I've experienced to something like that is trying to sleep there now. Doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes when it's completely dark and I'm just laying there, there's no noise. It's a suffocating darkness almost, where like it's like you have earmuffs on or you have a blindfold on, but you don't. And then like I remember like hearing, not in a creepy way, but like hearing voices like in my head, and like conversations happening that weren't happening, and just your brain doing crazy things or picking up crazy things, and it felt so strange, but it wasn't a creepy experience. But that's what, as close as I feel like I've come to that. So I'd be interested in seeing what it'd actually be like, or how similar it would be.
Yeah, you and I have both had similar experiences in your parents' old house.
Yeah,
sleeping in your old bedroom. Because it's completely dark. There's no noise. There's no noise in the house.
Nothing. And pitch black. So it's weird that there's so much, obviously, we don't understand about our own brains. And it's weird how it can be affected, or how it acts, or just what you can discover when you put yourself into something like that. Yeah. And you can learn a lot. I feel like
I'd like to actually try it, like in a controlled environment.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And that's crazy. I had no idea you did that.
Yeah, really cool. I can't believe I didn't share that. But it was. I wouldn't say I normally do stuff like that, but my friend really encouraged me, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's give it a try. Let's try something new. And it paid off, I feel. I'll never forget that experience.
Yeah, it's a great experience.
So let's make our own sensory deprivation.
Yeah, I think we can figure it out.
Yeah, let's just be amateurs.
We have a bathtub.
Human-sized bathtub will work. We need a bunch of salt.
Okay.
Darkness.
Okay. Check.
I think so. This is gonna work.
Perfect.
You have to tell your neighbors to be quiet for like an hour.
and Chief. and somehow stop the traffic on the road.
We'll iron out the details.
Yeah, those are small details.
Yeah, I know about this, guys.
Really important.
Sounds like a good idea.
And there's a will. There's a game. You're sick to your stomach. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And we're back. Oh, fuck. We didn't wait long enough.
No, it's fine. And we're back.
Oh, no.
So you recently were house sitting, right?
I was.
How was that?
Great. Yeah, I house sit. It's a passion of mine. It's a passion project. No, it's not. But I have some family of friends that will ask me every now and then to watch their cats or their dogs because they know I'm like good with animals or whatever. And so this one specifically, I almost died, or could have died, or thought I was going to die. So this is like it's my friend's aunt, and she's a little bit older, so she was going to go on a trip, and she asked me to take care of her cats, and I was like, sure, I can do that. She asked if I could go in the morning and at night, and I was like, no, we're not going to go twice a day, because the thing about, like, if it's a dog, yes, they need that kind of attention, but if it's a cat, especially her cats, because I already know their personalities, they don't need to be checked on twice a day. And plus, I lived across town, I had work, full-time job. I was like, we'll go, we'll check on them, we'll make sure that they're doing okay.
Yeah.
So the first day I get there is right when I actually drove back from Austin, and then I started cat sitting that immediate day. So when I get into town from Austin, I drop off the girl I was carpooling with, and then I went to the house, and it's already like 5:30, which shout out to daylight savings time.
Okay, it's pretty much
dark. It was pitch black at night.
Yep.
But it was still like only 6.
Yep.
And I was like, I can't see nothing. So I go in the house, I'm doing my thing. I use the bathroom. And while I'm on the commode, I hear like banging and knocking and like all this noise, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And so
in this house that's supposed to be empty.
Yeah, it's empty. It's just, and it's like a middle-sized house. It has 2 really huge rooms and 2 cats.
Right.
One of them's older and she needs to be kept separate, or else she'll attack the younger cat, which is like a little boy. He's like a young male cat, and he likes to play. Mm-hmm. And the old cat's like, no thanks, we good. I've done that.
Yeah, been there.
I'm content with my life.
Right.
I don't need no new friends. So she hates him, so we keep him separately. So I'm in the bathroom that's like connected to the room that has the old cat in it, and I hear this banging and stuff. I'm like, well, that's not the old ass cat that's in the other room.
Right.
She can barely walk. And so like I go out, and this lady has like a courtyard that leads to her front door.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then across the courtyard is like a separate room that she uses for an Airbnb.
Oh.
So I open the door. It's completely dark outside, and there's a lady outside, and she's like, hello.
What the fuck?
And I couldn't see her because the light's all behind me, and then the courtyard was completely dark, and I just hear a voice before I see her, and I was like,
oh my God.
And I was like, hi, after I basically screamed.
Yeah.
A very, very, like masculine scream.
Right, yes.
As I've done since I was young.
Yes.
I was like, and then fainted. And she's like, I'm here to rent the Airbnb. Do you have the keys? And I was like, I don't know who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
I don't remember where I am because I got so terrified. I didn't say that because I'm like not a rude person, but I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I had no idea you're coming. The owner didn't let me know. I was like, but I do have like spare keys. So she was like, yeah, those are the keys I normally use. So she was using the keys. I went to the counter. I realized that the owner had left me a key on the counter for her, but I was like, well, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, it would have been good to know that
this lady was
renting
coming.
This out
while she was out of town.
Yeah.
And so I like went outside. I was like, here, I think this is a key that she wanted you to use, and it was the key for the deadbolt, so it worked out. Okay. And so like fast forward the next few days, like Tuesday and Wednesday, I was leaving. I left lights on for the older cat and the younger cat because I didn't want to leave them in complete darkness.
Right.
Like, they're cats, they're fine, but I still, like, especially for the older cat, I left a little light on for her.
Yeah.
However, the next night I came over, I realized the light was, like, right across from the Airbnb room, and it was super bright, and I was like, oh, crap, I hope that wasn't disturbing the lady. So I, like, turned that light off, and I turned on a different light. I came the next day, and that light was off. And a different light was on.
Okay.
And I'm that type of person. I made that conscious decision. I was like, I'm going to leave this light on because it's not as bright.
Right.
And so, of course, I'm going to recognize when the light...
you're going to remember which
light it was. And then the light I left on for the younger cat, who gets to roam, like, the rest of the house, was off. And I was like, oh, my God. So this entire time I'm looking around, I'm like, I'm gonna die, somebody's in the house, changing the lights on and off.
Yep.
I look over to the lady's spare bedroom, which is completely black. It's vacant. There's nobody who lives there, and so at any moment in time, I'm like, I'm gonna be murderized. Like, I'm gonna be tenderized. I'm gonna be put through a food processor, and then I'm gonna be eaten, and it's gonna be delicious, but it's not necessarily what I want with my future.
Yeah, exactly. That's not
how I want it to end.
It's not where your life is going right now.
So I'm like looking at this room, which the light doesn't work in there anyway, so I can't like go flick on a light and be like, like
right.
I've thwarted your plans by being courageous and confronting you head first. So like I'm in the living room and I'm like, I'm just gonna check the back door. I go to the back door, I twist the handle, and it just and opens, and I'm like, this is Thursday night already. So since Monday night, this back door has been completely open, as far as I know.
And it opened with like no effort to it.
No effort. It just once you turn the handle, like a door does that's completely unlocked. Yes. And I was like, this door is literally the opposite of locked.
Yes, that's what it sounds like.
Currently unlocked. And I was snapped this whole thing, and I was like, everybody, I want you to know, those tweets that I had in my drafts, that was during a dark time. The porn that I have saved on my phone, that was during a darker time. This is not me. I'm gonna miss you all. I love you. But it is the time that I must die, because I'm about to be murdered.
I'm about to get killed, right?
I'm about to be killed for sure. And so I like texted her in a frenzy. I'm like, hey, I was like, is there any is the person who rents the Airbnb allowed inside? I was like, because lights are being turned on and off, doors are unlocked, and I'm really afraid. And she's like, oh yeah, the lady who rents the Airbnb is allowed to go inside and use the stove and the washer. And I was just like,
would have been good
bitch.
To know. Right?
Bitch. This lady's been in and out of the house, and you didn't think it was appropriate to tell me, the person who's watching your house and your cats? Mm-hmm. And so I texted her, and I was like, I thought I was going to die. Like, I literally thought I was going to die. Like, lights were not, like, I explained to her the whole situation, and her only response, LOL. I was like, first of all, you're like 76. You should not be using LOL. Second of all, what the fuck? This is the last time I'm house sitting for you.
Yeah.
I'm sick of these life and death situations that probably were not life and death situations. But...
No, but that's a terrible situation to be in. And just to go through thinking, like, there's someone in here.
In the house. Or the calls coming from inside the crazy cat lady's house.
Exactly. Or at least someone who... if not was in there then, had been going through at some point. Like, and just for the lady to not be responsible enough to tell you, like,
to
hey,
communicate, yeah.
I also rent out the spare room. It's Airbnb, so there will probably be someone there. I left the spare key, and they can go inside the house if they need to.
Which is funny because, like, the spare room that she uses for the Airbnb has, like, a fridge in it. It has a bathroom with a shower, so it's like a completely, it's like as if you got a hotel room,
right?
So I had no reason to believe that they would just and it's not connected in any way to the main house,
right?
So I had no reason to believe that she would be coming in and out of the house.
Yeah.
Which, terrifying for all of you cat sitters out there. I know that you can commiserate with me. We are brave warriors. We're stronger than the U.S. Marines. And we live to tell a tale.
Yep, that's right. That's damn right.
That's my last stupid story
all
for the day.
All of you cat sitters out there. We have so many listeners that are cat sitters, so this is really going to resonate with our cat sitter demographic.
I'm really glad I could reach out to somebody and connect.
I mean, I'm glad everything was okay and you weren't murdered and ground up and then eaten. You know,
it would have been a good story.
I'm glad you weren't. But just that whole situation seemed like it was kind of not needed. Like, it could have been prevented pretty easily if people would just communicate. Like,
by being like, BTW, because she obviously likes to use.
I mean, she used LOL
acronyms and other abbreviations, and she's like, BT Dubs. A stranger will be in the house, not to murder you, just to maybe wash her underwear. Right. Like, I need to wash my underwear now because they are fully soiled.
Well, can I use your washer and dryer now because I shit my pants?
Yeah, I shit my pants. Either that or I like go plant them out because that's gonna be some good.
Dude, that and just like answering the door to that, and then just a random voice like hello, like
hello, and it was like, and she was like, yeah, she was just like hi, like unbothered, and then I was like. Fully terrified.
You're like everyone, like everyone else is in on the joke except for you, and it's a terrible feeling. Like, it would have been good to know that some stranger was going to be here while I was taking care of your cats, and then also the fact that like there needed to be a cat sitter. Like, it just seems dangerous to have someone else going through the house in and out as they please.
Like, you know what? She can cat sit for you now.
Right. Or like, what if the person you're renting out to left the door open for a too long, like a split second?
Maybe she left the back door unlocked.
Yeah, and the cats decided, or at least the young one decided, like, to get out.
He was very much so what is that called? A hazard. Like, he was a little energetic fool, and he would for sure,
right?
Dash out.
So
and then they would be like, I think it was your cat sitter that
lost
your
cat. Yeah, the blame would have definitely been on me. Yeah, 100%. Well, I would suggest not cat sitting for her again. That's what I would say. That's my assessment.
Yeah, I'm not in disagreement.
Yeah, that's quite it's a good story, but I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah. Oh, it was kind of fun. No.
I mean, it did give me a little excitement. What can I say?
My life is pretty boring, so between that and the mattress, I'm like, oh, she's living her life.
I almost got murdered.
Basically a thriller movie. All right.
Wow.
So yeah, enough of my stupid stories.
Okay, enough of your stupid stories. Let's get to the
meat.
The meat, if you will. The meat and potatoes, if you will. Speaking of gravy, because speaking of meat, potatoes, and gravy, it is going to be Thanksgiving.
Fill me with that stuffing, Daddy.
Oh no.
Damn.
Damn it. I am really glad that I missed parts of this.
Damn it. Thanksgiving.
That's right. I workshopped that on the way here.
The whole way here.
We're talking about Thanksgiving. What can I say?
How can I make it this?
So Thanksgiving's an interesting holiday, right? I mean,
yeah.
Coming off of Halloween, which we've, of course, obviously already talked about, and it being kind of a community thing, this fun thing, everyone, Thanksgiving is almost strictly a family thing, at least traditionally, a family
Well, at least,
event.
like, for Christmas and stuff, like, there's a little more to do.
Mm-hmm.
But with Thanksgiving, there's almost just, like, nothing but
sit
talking.
and you eat.
And you eat. That's it.
And then it kind of begs the question, like, how is this a holiday?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But it is.
I feel like, I mean, Halloween S tier, and then, like, Thanksgiving's not even on the hierarchy here. It's like, I feel like it's just kept around so that Black Friday can still be a thing.
Yeah.
Which
is a terrible thing.
Yeah. Horrible capitalism. But, like, what else is it? Like, why are we still doing this?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I feel like, I mean, there's so much that supposed to traditionally revolve around Thanksgiving. Like, it's supposed to be a family thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you start realizing, I mean, as you grow up, most people, I know I have, you start realizing like, I don't always like my family. And I don't know if I want to spend any time with them, you know what I mean? And especially with people, once you start getting to extended families and stuff like that, it's like, I don't know if I want to sit next to, my uncle Rick, who's homophobic and racist, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I want to put myself through that, or like, do I want to hear my grandpa's theories on Donald Trump and how he actually is the greatest president? No, I actually don't.
No, Grandpa, please, please stop living.
Thankfully, I think at least you and me don't have to worry about that too much. I don't know about Joseph.
Right.
Every time
really?
I have a fucking Thanksgiving.
Oh my god.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
you guys talk about your experiences.
But go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, because, like, my parents, like, obviously they divorced when I was pretty young, and there's reasons for that divorce that I won't get into now.
Well, you've kind of gotten into anyway. But
a little. I mean, there's so much in there. There's so much to unpack. But, I mean, Thanksgiving and Christmas, they were the few times during the year that my parents would put aside everything to give me and my brother at least the better holiday that they can. Maybe not the best or greatest, but at least a good holiday. So, like, they would put all their stuff aside for just these, couple of days, and we would usually, most of the time, have a really good holiday. Mm-hmm. And there's some of the better memories that I have being a child. I have some funny stories.
Well, yeah. Well, talk about it.
Well, one of them, the one that
Thanksgiving like for Rabbit?
For Rabbit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my mom would cook everything. And we wouldn't have, we would have turkey and stuffing and green beans and corn, all that kind of stuff. But my mom would also always make fry bread. And, no, this is weird. My mom is white, but my dad, my adoptive dad, my dad, he is Native American too, but, he's from, like, the same tribe. So my mom learned how to make fry bread from, just being a part of, being married to a Native American man and having a Native American child and all this stuff. So she would make fry bread and wild rice. And that would also be very, like, normal for us.
Right.
So, like, I go to other people's Thanksgivings and, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, there's supposed to be rice here.
Wild rice. Not just rice.
There's supposed to be wild rice here and, fry bread and then...
So this dry-ass turkey.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, but there was one time, and this is more recent. This is after my parents divorced, and you were there. You were coming home from work. And so my mom was preparing Thanksgiving dinner for you and me, the kids. My brother, I think, was working at the time too, so he was going to get off of work late. But my sister-in-law and you were just coming home. And she was on the phone talking to her friend Georgia about God knows what. She was trying to get everything done. I was in the living room trying to make sure the kids didn't kill themselves because they're still toddlers and they're just drunk little people at the time.
Yep.
And my sister-in-law was kind of in and out of the kitchen, in and out of, like, the garage, like, smoking cigarettes and stuff and other stuff. And, my mom was supposed to be cooking. And so, like, I kind of come in and, like, she's on the phone. She's juggling, like, 3 things at once. And at some point, she opens the oven to, like, either check on the turkey or take the turkey out. So she's on the phone. She's got it, like, she's holding it on her shoulder. And she goes to take the turkey out, and she spills it. Like, so the juice goes, like, in the oven. And then all of a sudden, I was like, Mom, like, get off the phone. Like, or if you need help, like, I don't know, switch places with me or something because I'm trying to watch the kids. The oven starts on fire. So now there's a fire in the oven. She's still trying to get the turkey out of it, and then the smoke alarm goes off. She's still on the phone trying to have a normal conversation.
It's like, anyway.
Exactly.
What was I saying?
Just real casually.
Yeah. Like,
the oven's on fire.
I think she said that at some point too.
Wow.
And so now Leah has the garage door open. She's trying to get the smoke alarm off and trying to get the rest of the smoke out of the house. Again, the kids are now freaking out. Like, so I'm again trying to keep toddlers from, like, running into the kitchen and lighting themselves on fire. My mom is still through this whole process is still on the phone. She's like, oh, well, I gotta go, Georgia. Like, I gotta get the turkey out of the oven. Georgia. Like, there's not a fire.
Everything about it's so perfect. Everything about
Georgia.
Like, the name has to be Georgia. Like,
yeah. And so she puts the fire out. She gets the turkey out. Thankfully, it was okay to eat. And she thinks this is perfectly fine.
Well, she got the turkey out.
Yeah, she got the turkey out. So, she's okay. And I think the rest of the meal, kind of went on pretty normal. But it's just, like, the whole chaotic part of it. It's like she didn't have to be on the phone at that moment.
No. Just didn't even have to hang up. Just put the phone down for a second.
Yeah, just a second.
I put her on speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, put her on speaker. Put her on the counter.
Girl, I'm putting on speaker. Just a moment. I'm extinguishing a fire.
Right.
Yeah. So we've actually, I think that was the last year we were in Wisconsin. So we had our Christmas a little early. I think we had it like December 1st or around there, and we got my mom a fire extinguisher for Christmas. She was kind of offended by
she's
it.
like, really? Or like, whatever. And it's like, yeah, really.
Yeah, really, because you almost lit the house on fire. And just that chaotic moment. And then you came home at some point, too. You were there. Like, you, like, came home, like, in the middle of that, I'm pretty sure.
I was working that day. So I wasn't out till, like, 6. So I got picked up then. So I got home once it was all done.
What's everything?
Once the food was done, everything was ready. So I got home after all the chaos.
After all of the chaos.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the funnier stories that I have that I can remember right offhand. Is my mom almost lighting the house on fire and
what's a Thanksgiving without a fire? I'm sure it happens.
It's true. So that's one of the like funnier ones that I remember right offhand.
So with you being Native American, what is Thanksgiving like exactly for you?
Well, I mean, from my very early age, I was always like, you know, I remember going to school and learning about like the Pilgrims, the first Thanksgiving, and what's that Native American dude's name? I'm gonna
Tonto.
Is it?
I don't think so.
I was gonna say
Tonto's from the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't sound right. Squanto, and learning about all of that, and then I remember, you know, being so happy. Like they would make the pilgrim hats and the little like headbands with the feathers on the back and stuff, and then of course I had to make one of those. Yeah.
Oh God,
this is elementary school. And I would remember going home and being so excited to tell my dad about Christopher Columbus discovering America. And it was at that moment that he sat me down and told me like the cold hard truth. And he looked at me and he was just like, Rachel, like, he did not discover America. America was already discovered, and here's why. And he handed, you know, a 6-7-year-old a bunch of books with, like, Native American pipes on them. And, well, I didn't read them at the time. I read them much later. And, yeah, I mean, just kind of, like, scared me straight.
Well, just told you the truth. Well,
yeah, told me the truth. But, I mean, in
the reality to, like, a little child is... very unnerving.
He could have said it a lot differently, but he instilled that in me, like, from the beginning. And so then I was like, oh, fuck no, like, Christopher Columbus never discovered America. So our celebration of Thanksgiving is really just, like, a feast to be thankful for
family thing.
For family.
If anyone at this point still celebrates Thanksgiving for the purpose of the Pilgrims in, like, history, like... they're fucking stupid.
Right.
I think ignorant.
Yeah. Like, it's just I don't think anyone does at this point. I think mostly Thanksgiving has become a family gathering thing. As opposed to, like, Indians and Pilgrims. But if anyone still does that, like, you can fuck right off. Because that's not the truth. And I'm sure, obviously I haven't been in elementary school for a little bit now.
Almost 30 years.
Just a few years. I'm sure they still teach it, but like they probably shouldn't.
Well, what I love is that, you know, Christopher Columbus Day is becoming Indigenous Peoples Day, which is what it should be. Yeah. And I love that more and more cities are passing that and they're changing it over. And I hate the stupid debate. It's like, why would you want to change history? And I'm like, you realize that when white people came over to this country, they killed millions and millions of Native Americans and God knows who else to discover it. Right. It's like, so I think that we're not changing history necessarily. Well, we're taking it back.
I mean, you're changing history by saying Christopher Columbus discovered America. That's changing history.
Exactly.
Because there's people already here.
No. This is the true. This is what actually happened. This isn't make-believe, honey. Like,
exactly. Like,
we're not changing nothing. We're just stating what actually fucking happened. Yeah, exactly. These are the facts as they are.
Exactly. The real history is that there was people already here.
Yeah, like thousands of years before Christopher Columbus was even a person. Like, my people migrated all the way down from, what is it, like Alaska, like, and further all the way down to America. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's just like, who discovered America?
No.
So, yeah, I mean, Thanksgiving became more of and had always had just been family. Just a family thing where, like I said, my parents wouldn't fight. My brother wasn't a jerk. My grandparents weren't as churchy as they usually are. I mean, they're still pretty churchy. But, you know, just everyone was not as bad as they usually are. And it was a day more about family than it ever was about history. But my dad did teach me very early about our history.
He kind of got you. Like, I feel like you have to instill that knowledge. Somebody's got to know the truth, especially... because your heritage was completely decimated by it. Like, this is your story. Yeah.
And I feel like being born Native American and really born any culture other than white, I mean, that stuff is instilled in us from birth. You know, like for me, like I said, I mean, being 6 years old and already having to learn all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's ingrained in me now. That's kind of pieces I hope to teach my children, and hopefully in a better way, a more compassionate way. But it's stuff my kids are gonna learn now.
Yeah, I think Thanksgiving, what it has become is just a pregame for Christmas. Like, and literally, like, it's a toned down Christmas. You're like, all right, you got to get ready for all the family you're gonna have to see again in a month.
Yeah.
All the shit you're gonna have to do again in a month. It's just like taking shots before going out for the night. Like,
right.
It's just like willing you in, and I feel like the two together have just become this like amalgam of like, I don't know. I feel like they've ruined the winter season for me because it's always synonymous. It's like, it's getting cold, I better go shopping for Christmas presents. Like, it's become these like inseparable things, and I used to love winter time and I used to love cold weather, but now it's like, it's not about that anymore. It's not about the climate that's happening currently. It's about like, oh, what are these, you know, like institutional like holidays that everybody's going to be shoving down everybody's throats for the next 2 months. So Halloween's different, but the other two can suck it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I do like Thanksgiving. You know, I love that for the most part we can get all of our family in one place. We can talk to people and meet people family-wise that we normally wouldn't. There's usually really good food, depending on who's doing the cooking. You know, and it's not all bad, but then, I mean, when I think about Christmas and when I think about, you know, how much other people might spend, how much, you know, stress people get under for trying to, like, buy the newest and greatest gifts for everybody, it just, those are the parts that I don't like about it.
That makes a lot of sense. I think for me, Thanksgiving from a kid, well, as kids, like, I mean, with my bigger family, like, there was a point where all the aunts and all my mom's sisters, like all 7 of them, would all get together, and all their kids and like all their husbands.
Talk a little bit about how big your family is. So how many aunts do you have? Approximately how many cousins do you have?
Well, like I said, I have like 7 aunts, and if they each have 2 kids, there's like 14 cousins. But there's probably more actually.
Yeah.
That's just general, like, you know what I mean? Just like summary,
so like 20-ish people.
Yeah, but
and now some of them have kids as well.
So all together for a family Thanksgiving, it's like 50 people.
2,000 people.
50, 60 people depending.
And that's just your mom's side.
I always have to have like, whenever I'm like doing holidays with the Mexican side of my family, I always have to have like a directory or be like, all right, who's this person?
And that's
how do we know this
person? That's definitely what it's like. That's definitely. But as a kid, it was always a thing we did Thanksgiving, and so we would go. We would travel for Thanksgiving. At least when I was a kid, we would go to Deming first because that's where my dad's family is, and we'd eat with them and have a Thanksgiving there, and then we would leave and go to here, Las Cruces, and then have Thanksgiving here with my mom's family here, and then we'd stay the night and stuff like that. And then that was the big one, you know. And that's what it was like for most of my childhood. It was just like getting together with family, seeing my cousins and eating, and that's it, and just hanging out. And it started to change when the kids got older, you know, the kids being me, and when all of the little cousins started growing up. So eventually Thanksgivings with family stopped happening, like at least extended family. And then it would be like a separate thing with that. My mom would just like cook a small turkey or something like that. And it also, what also changed the dynamic a lot is my mom and her sisters losing their parents. You know, at first it was my grandpa, and then it was my grandma, and so that once they were gone too, that also changed Thanksgiving. And eventually they kind of stopped Thanksgivings. As I got older, it would change.
Well, even your parents' little, our little family, obviously, like, I came in the picture. Your brother has a girlfriend. And eventually, I mean, hopefully, somewhere in 5 years or so, I mean, we'll have kids. So it's like, as each family, like, in your family gets
make it a
bigger.
Cool 10 years from now, just in case.
I'll be like 40, but okay.
That's fine.
I'll be like 37, but alright, I don't. But, I mean, yeah, it's like each family grows because, like we said, now your cousins have kids. It's just like, it gets harder and harder to bring your family together. Yeah. Because as we like approximately 30 people will be at this dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think it just changes with time. Everyone would do it. I feel like everyone originally did it. They did it for the kids, and they did it for the parents, meaning their parents, my grandma and grandpa. That's why they did it. And then once grandma and grandpa are gone, once the kids start getting older, it becomes more of like a chore. I feel like for people, like hosting that big of a thing is like such it is a chore. Yeah. And so most of the time people are like, just don't want to do it.
Yeah. And even I've tried to offer, like, every time we make plans with your parents, like, they'll usually tell us, like, hey, so this is what we're thinking. And they just sent us that text last week. I'll usually suggest to you, well, when you call and confirm with them, tell them that I don't mind cooking a dish or I'll make a dish. And, like, I think I've offered that, like, every other year. And they always say no. They don't want help. What is it with stubborn old Mexican ladies that they don't want help, but then they complain to everybody? Like, no one
I don't want to do it. It's too much work. Oh, well, I can help. No.
It's like, I've got this.
Really,
but I will make you feel bad about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
like,
that's literally the culture.
Yeah, that's the culture. It's like,
that's flashbacks to my mom, like making some kind of dish and then being like giving me dirty looks and then like not accepting any type of help.
Let me help. No. Okay.
That's just...
I'm not going to accept help. I'm going to make you feel bad about the fact that I still have to do this alone. Yeah. Even though I'm choosing to do this alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, some of your aunts are really good cooks. Like, they all make their own really good dishes. And so, like, I feel like I could at least start getting in on that. But then I offer to bring a dish, or I offer to maybe make the cranberry sauce, because that one year I made it, and everyone loved it. Everyone loved it. I don't know. They won't accept it. They don't want to accept help.
Well, I mean, there's some really traditional roles in a lot of Mexican households, and the older the generation, the more, like, solid it is. So, like, for a house that has 7 sisters, I'm sure it's very much so a point of, like, pride. And maybe seeing another, like, a next generation, like, doing that is signifying more than just, like...
It's more than just help. They're essentially losing their place.
Yeah.
And it sucks that's like, that it's kind of territorial like that, but that's kind of what I've witnessed from, seeing my family do it. My Mexican side of the family is a little bit different, whereas my tios also help and they cook too. It's not just like the women cook and the men. No, it's more, but it's also because, like, I don't know, it's probably how my Nita raised their children, but, and then also my dad cooks a lot, where he's like a tall white man, and he's over here, like, making some, like, red chili, and, like, some tamales, and, like, all this stuff, and I'm like, all right, Dad.
Nice.
Well, that's good, though. Yeah. I've met your dad a couple of times, so he's a nice guy.
Oh, well, just kidding. I love my dad.
He's always been really nice to us.
You haven't lived with him.
No, that's true. No. That's true.
No, he really, he's, I'm happy to say he's a good person. But I can definitely see, like, what Jay is saying, like, the holiday used to be such a huge thing, and now it's, like, literally, I talked to my mom about plans, and we're gonna it's gonna be me, my brother, and my dad, and we're gonna go to El Paso, and we're gonna eat dinner with my tito, and probably like a few of my tios, and then we're gonna go.
That's it. Yeah.
That's what it is now. It's a very intimate, and it's not. I feel like a lot of obviously times are changing, but I feel like the importance of it's not. It still exists, but it's more about Christmas now.
Right.
which I'm okay about. Like, obviously, from what you can hear from me, I'm not the biggest fan of Thanksgiving, but it definitely has become a smaller occasion. And we always celebrate Thanksgiving with my mom's side of the family. We don't celebrate. Well, I mean, that could be a lot of like, because it's closer by. Like, my mom's side of the family lives in El Paso, which is just about 45 minutes away from where we're at. Versus my dad's side of the family, they live in Arizona and Michigan and different places, so they used to be more grouped together, like everybody was kind of in Arizona and Silver City, and so it was easier to do it, but we always did Thanksgiving with my mom's side of the family, which has gone to be like really small and
smaller.
And I'll ask them, be like, well, where's my cousin gonna be, where they're like, oh, they're gonna have their own family stuff, and I'm like, well, they have kids now, that makes sense. And I don't feel offended by it, you know. Like, some people are like, well, I can't believe it, and I'm like, well, that's, you know, they're building their own traditions now, and that's totally fine. Like, if I had my own family, I would not be hanging out with you guys, so not you guys that I'm talking to, but like my mom, my dad, my brother.
Exactly. It's like, if I had an excuse, I would be somewhere else too. So I get that.
But it's just kind of just become like a blimp on the radar. It's just like, oh, all right.
Yeah, it's for me, it's weird because from going from it being such an event to it being kind of a small thing, it kind of is sad a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, it's a little sad, but I don't know. I feel like the main point at this point of Thanksgiving is just trying to spend time with people, and if it's family or what's becoming more popular, and I feel like with our generation or because of our generation, I don't know if we did it, but like Friendsgiving, you know what I mean? Where it's like,
I've heard of that.
Like, fuck it, like we're gonna do Thanksgiving or something like that, but it's gonna be with our friends, you know what I mean? It's gonna be with people I want to spend time with, you know?
Well, yeah, and actually, I think the last couple of years, whenever we've been in Silver City for holidays, we usually, and it might be later in the evening, but we've spent quite a bit of time with Javi, Maribel, and Taco. Yeah. On Thanksgiving or on Christmas. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we actually find a lot of time to spend with friends.
Well, it must be nice to be invited to these type of things.
Well, if you would come to Silver City with us.
Therein lies the problem.
Exactly.
It's true.
It's just weird. I really don't get down to Silver very often. Maybe once, maybe twice a year. And I don't know why. I love the people there. I'm constantly missing our friends, and I don't know. I have to think about that, why I don't necessarily go down to Silver as much as I can. It's not far away. I mean, I went to Austin. That was a 10-hour trip, so I'll be down there for Christmas, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So what were, for you, Joseph, what were, like, Thanksgiving's like as a kid and like growing up?
Do you have good memories?
Or bad?
I do.
Or bad. Let's get some bad ones in here.
Well, I mean, like I said, they're always at my Lita's and my Lito's house. It was the family unit, so we were always there, and it was always just about I do miss that. Every Thanksgiving, my Lita would have us bring down all of her Christmas decorations, which was like, my Lita had like a plethora of like the little Christmas houses. She had like a Bethlehem one that was like set in the desert, like, and then she had her like her like snowscape ones, and like, so after Thanksgiving and after we ate, we were all like, oh, let's lug our bodies over and like take down all the decorations from the attic, and we're all like on the verge of vomiting because we ate too much, and we're just like still setting up decorations. That is what I think I miss the most, because she doesn't decorate anymore.
That's a really nice tradition. Yeah. That's a nice memory.
That's what my family does.
Yeah, it was specific, like it wasn't lights and stuff, it was the Christmas houses. And she had like two different areas. There was like a little sitting room that was kind of like a dining room table area where we decorated, and then there was like a sunroom that she had a huge table that we would always set up. And it was always like, I was the like little gay grandchild, so I was always so excited. Like, my brother and my cousins would be like, oh, all right, let's go grab it. But me and my mom and my sister and like my other girl cousins, we would be all setting up.
Yeah, I'm gonna create a scene right now.
Me and my mom went in. Like, we would use
backstory behind
we would like use the boxes for the houses to set different levels and like give it some type of like silhouette. Like, we went in. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
I do miss that now that I think about that. I also miss like fighting I was the person that I was like closest with, like besides my immediate family, was my little cousin Joel, and we're like the closest in age. He was the baby, and I was the second to last, and so I always like running joke that he like stole my fire. But we would always like hang out together. We would always like watch like an anime that he rented from Blockbuster. That was also a tradition. We'd always go to Blockbuster and we would like rent some type of movie. Yeah. My poor older cousin had to take us. But it was like right up the road. I kind of miss that too. Oh my god.
It's like flooding back. Oh,
like
no.
all the good memories.
Oh, no.
Why do I hate Thanksgiving, you guys? I miss it.
Wait a second.
I was like, hold the phone. Okay, I guess I didn't hate it that much.
Yeah.
But I just remember me and my little cousin, we would eat so much pie. And like one year I ate so much pumpkin pie and whipped cream that I projectile vomited in the bathroom. And then from that point on in time, I was like 10 till I was like out of high school. I refused to eat whipped cream. I refuse, and I still don't really like whipped cream.
Oh my god!
I won't like have it on any drink.
It ruined it for you.
Yeah.
I refused. I like put it in writing. I was like, no whipped cream. I don't eat that shit. And I still eat pumpkin pie. I would still recover enough to eat pumpkin pie in like my high school days, but it's still not a favorite.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But that's a good also / bad memory is where I ate so much pie that I projectile vomited and ruined my view on a food for half my life. But and then we would play like we would all get together at my tita's house. We would all help cook. My dad would make like I'd always have to have my dad make the mashed potatoes because my tia would try to make it, but she'd do like the instant mashed potato shit. And then like one year we were like I'm sorry. We were like, I'm sorry, Thea, you can no longer make the taters. Like, you gotta go. And she was all offended. But then, like, she had our mashed potatoes. And she's like, you're right, I suck.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it was always, like, a very incorporated, like, everybody would pitch in. For the most part, there's some lazies. Mm-hmm. You know, and then we'd all help clean up. It was kind of a different family structure than, like Howell's family, but you know it worked we're a smaller family too. My mom has one sister and two brothers, and like altogether there was like 7 grandchildren, so it was a smaller family than you would. But then you like go to our like second cousin and it's like that shit blows up. Like my Dito's brother's family, holy shit, they're everywhere. So it was really kind of an intimate thing for us, and now that I'm like talking more about it, I'm kind of missing it more and more, but it's completely different now. It changes.
It changes pretty quickly, you know, once the kids start growing up and then they start having their own families, and then you know the patriarchs and matriarchs of the families are gone. Like a lot of that revolves around them too. So then it just changes, and I think but then, you know, as kind of what I said in the beginning is like as you get older, you start realizing flaws in your family that you of course didn't realize when you were a kid. So there's that whole thing to it to where like you have to seriously just ask if you want to be around your family.
That's
been
Thanksgiving for the past like 3 years.
Right.
It's like, oh god, I don't want to sit over there because I know I'm gonna get an earful. And it's like it's kind of like walking on eggshells now.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of understand that, but I mean, my family, out of all 2 of 3, I was going to say 3 of yours, 2 of yours, my family is probably the smallest. I mean, it literally was, you know, my parents, me and my brother, and my grandparents until my brother had kids. And even now, it's just, you know, my mom, my brother, me, and the kids, my grandma. And so it's only 7 people. And even now, like, more and more, I don't even think my mom really does holidays anymore. She cooks dinner for the kids on that day, but it's usually just something that they want. Because they're really, really picky eaters. And my nephew has autism, so he usually doesn't like a lot of... I don't think he likes mashed potatoes. He doesn't like vegetables, so he won't eat green beans. Like a green bean casserole would probably freak him out. I don't think he likes turkey. He likes chicken. So it's become even smaller for my family. Now, if I were to be there, then they would probably have a more traditional dinner. And it's very quiet, very small. We like eat and then we watch TV. So, you know, it's like I don't have too many negative memories around like from after like my parents got divorced.
Which is nice.
Yeah. But it's very small.
I definitely had better memories with Thanksgiving as a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was just always, as far as mine goes, like so chaotic. Because there's so many people and so many kids. There's like the young cousins and the old cousins. I usually hung out with the older cousins. My brother usually, even though he was older, he usually hung out with the little cousins. And there was like every room was meant for something. Like there's one room, this is where everyone's playing video games. And you go in this room, this is where everyone's watching a movie. You go into this room and like all the dads are watching football. Yeah, they all did. Like even to this day, we go to Thanksgiving. If we go to Thanksgiving at a family's place, we get in. My dad disappears. And he's watching football.
He'll immediately turn on the television, and usually one of your aunts will set him up with the remote.
Yeah, like here you go. And then this is volume, blah blah blah, and he's watching football.
Yeah, but I also noticed, especially last year, none of the uncles helped.
Yeah,
they were all already sitting down with beer, whatever they drink, and all the women were working.
Yeah, well, that's my family.
Yeah,
and
then so... like of course, like everyone now, your cousins are adults now, so we're all talking about movies and video games and tattoos, which isn't horrible,
right?
But then it eventually just ended up you and me at a table, and we were just sitting there.
Yeah, that's pretty much Thanksgiving now. If we do it with family, it's like Rachel and I find a safe corner. Like of a table, and we just stay there.
We stay there
close
and we
to the
let
front
them,
door and the bathroom.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we let them come to us.
Exactly.
And so it'll just be rotating one of your aunts
like
and
I'm not
uncles.
gonna get up and I'm not gonna explore.
Sorry.
I'm not gonna mingle.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, I'm sorry. There's a ticket counter. You got to get a number.
Exactly.
And when we call you, you can come up to the window.
It's just like it's safe in this corner. This is where I'm gonna stay. Like,
and then they'll come up. You know, one of your aunts will come up and talk to us. She'll sit and she'll eat pie and she'll talk to us. And you know, and then she'll get up, and then another aunt will come sit down. Same thing, or one of your cousins will, and then they'll get up, they'll leave, and then.
My family's the same way. Like, there's the room where all of like the Theos are watching football, except my dad. My dad hates football, so he'll be in the other room taking a nap. Or he'll be with my Nita, and they'll be watching like some kind of like old like Heat of the Night, like old TV lands. Oh my god, Heat of the Night! Dude. Yeah, like Murder, She Wrote, like that kind of shit. Like they eat that up. And then I'll be taking care of the children. Like I'm always with my little cousins, and it's because I'm good with kids. I'm just an all-arounder.
What can we say? He's amazing.
Except one of my little cousins is a bitch, and I will fight him if he comes at me again this season.
Oh
wait, so
he's also like 10.
How did he come at you before?
We had a drawing contest, and I obviously whooped his ass, and he was making fun of one of my drawings. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't see any kind of like shading here. Right. I see
Where's
no
your shadow?
dimension.
Where's your lighting?
Okay,
where's your depth?
Where's your weight? Where's these lines? I'm like, I'm sorry, get your amateur ass out of my face before I whoop it.
How old is he?
He's like 10. Whatever. He wants to fight me, I'll fight him.
He has to learn. It's true.
10.
No, I can't. Like, he did end up crying because I went a little too in on one of his photos because he came after mine, so I did come after one of his, and he did end up crying, and I was like...
Okay, that's fair.
I was like, okay.
You made your. But at the time, so at that time, was he 9 or is he 10? Was he 10 at that time?
For like 9.
So
he's 10 now.
9-year-old cousin
cry. Oh my god.
I mean,
but like besides that, I think that was last Christmas, and then we had like a thing during the summertime where my sister flew down from DC, and I hung out with him again, and I did not make him cry.
Well, that's
and I hung out with him, and I'm getting a little bit better because he's really aggressive whenever he's like put into like a competitive thing, and I'm seeing that now, but like I always end up somehow like playing games with the children, or you know, and then their mom will come, and I've always been pretty close with their mom, and so like that's my area, because they have like this really chaotic energy, and they're like doing stupid shit, and I think it's really funny, but that's normally the room I'm in, is with the one where I'm like, I'm gonna hang out with these kids because they're more exciting than my like really religious aunt who's like,
oh god,
exactly.
Oh, have you found the Lord again? I'll be like,
get
out of my face.
Exactly.
Have you found
I
the
just
Lord
want
again?
second helping.
Right. I just need more mashed potatoes. Okay?
I just wanted that bread over
Well,
there.
actually, I'm praying to God right now that there's still mashed potatoes left.
I'm praying to God right now that he smite me dead so I don't have to have this conversation with you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And for us, it might be more fun, like, because a lot of your older cousins who are like our age, and we would have more in common with, they don't come.
Yeah.
You know, like, they don't come, or they're busy, or they have, you know, stuff of their own. Because and I'm still meeting new cousins that I've never met before. Last year I met, you know, one of your aunt's daughters, and never met her before. She's actually really cool, and she had a bunch of tattoos, and we connected about that. But we don't always get to see those cousins either, because some of them just don't come. So
sometimes it ends up being just us and like all the old people.
Which is kind of funny too, because we actually have the most like good conversations.
I learned things that I didn't know.
Oh, your mom was a party girl back in the day?
And I definitely learned things about my family now that
they're all telling you the chisme, talking shit about your
That's
mom.
True.
When your aunts had weed in her car, and then she offered. Well, this wasn't at Thanksgiving. This is another family get together, but she just had it in her car. She offered it to your mom.
Well, I think my mom ate a pot brownie, and she didn't know it was
back
pot
when she was
brownie.
in high school. Or
Because one of my aunts was like, so if my mom, it was oftentimes my mom's older sisters getting her in trouble, and so she ate a pot brownie and she got high because of it, and just that her sisters would sneak out and smoke on the roof, and like they never let my mom go, but she would know what they were doing, and just like crazy like stuff I never thought, and like, oh, okay. Also, all the like when I think about past Thanksgivings, and I think about them now, all the times like where my family or my mom and dad and my aunts and stuff would be like, we're just happy, we're not drunk, and then I think about it now, I was like, you were fucking drunk.
No, they're drunk.
And like as a kid, it's like, oh, okay, they're just having fun, they're just happy, quote unquote. It's like, fuck you were drunk that whole time.
Oh, that's another thing too. My family does not drink alcohol, so all of these are 100% sober occasions.
Oh my goodness.
Which gets real quick.
They don't drink nearly as much. In fact, I don't really even ever see liquor bottles out, but they do drink a lot of beer. Especially,
they drank more ironically, they drank more when we were younger. For some reason.
Maybe because they're getting old now too.
Yeah, and they don't even want to do that anymore. But they really drank a lot when they were younger. And then it would just be them and a karaoke machine.
Oh, God.
And all of them taking turns singing and being drunk. Or one year, I was really young, at one of my older cousins, he knew how to play the saxophone, and he would somehow
My deal.
Really?
No, the trumpet.
The trumpet. Why does that always happen? Especially, I feel like Mexican families.
Like smooth jazz.
Yeah, exactly. But one of my cousins knew how to play the saxophone, and then basically my parents would always hang out in the kitchen eventually, like once football was over and stuff. That's when they would all start drinking and doing that. And they like roped him in and like caught him, and like he would play like a blues riff like on his saxophone, like and then they would make up something.
Oh my god!
Like and it went on. As a kid, it felt like the whole night. Like, and my cousin was just playing his saxophone. Like, didn't want to do it.
Wait, I have to know, which cousin is this?
My cousin JJ.
The one that looks exactly like you. He's
Does he
older.
look like me? I don't know.
And what's his wife's name?
Mindy.
Yeah, is the one that looks so much like you.
Really?
I think so.
Interesting.
I met him last time. Okay, so this is the cousin.
And like
okay.
he was just like he didn't want to do it, but then he's like roped in for like 4 hours, just like playing. God. Like he'd go and then my uncles and aunts would make up their own song. Like I can't even think of what they did, but like they were just having fun making up their own lyrics, and then my little cousin playing a little blues riff on his little saxophone like the whole night.
See, mine was opposite because my Theo would pull out his trumpet, and we're like, "Oh, shit's getting real," and he would play. He wanted to play for everybody, and then they would like get up and would like start dancing, and like there was just, some shit.
Why is it always a thing? Like, it's I remember one Thanksgiving, my cousins, the girl cousins decided to put on a puppet show.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and my aunts are like, not all of them, but a couple of them were the types of aunts who were like, okay, we're gonna make this a thing. So it was like they made a little stage for it, like to sit behind, and like they sat rows of chairs, and everyone was sitting.
It's like a production.
Everyone had to stop and like sit and watch, and it was outside. Yeah, it was like a production, and they did it outside because that's where there was enough room to do it. And so like. There was a point like they were doing a puppet show. I don't even remember what it was about because like everyone there was like, what the fuck? Like all the boy cousins and the rest of the cousins were just like, and then those littler cousins weren't entertained.
Yeah.
And then like the aunts of course are all watching, all like proud and like, oh, this is cute. And I remember even like the uncles like looking at my dad and him being like what the hell is happening right now? Yeah. And then so in the middle of it, like as a joke, one of the older cousins like. There's like these little, they weren't berries, but they're like seeds that fell from whatever tree was there. And he picked it up and he threw it at the puppet, and then slowly like another cousin did it, and then all the little cousins like caught on, so they just started like blatantly like picking up handfuls and like just throwing stuff at him, like
you got pelted.
Yeah, like it was like a little one, like just like every now and then like throwing it, like the little cousins
just,
saw
handfuls.
it. The little cousins saw it, and were like, oh
and
yeah,
like, oh shit, it's on.
Yeah, exactly, and then everyone started laughing.
But you know that's perfect for your family because like. A lot of your mom's sisters and your mom included are like teachers.
Yeah.
It's like so they're all into all that like creative like
and like crafty.
Keep the little
they're
kids
a bunch
entertained.
Of crafty bitches.
They are. And then one thing I was gonna say too, pictures.
Right.
Each one of your aunts has to get a picture of every single person on her phone. There has to be a full group picture.
How about? Go ahead.
So that whole like puppet show thing makes a whole lot of sense with your family.
It was such a thing, and I don't even remember if they ended it properly because it all went to shit. Yeah.
It actually got good.
And I wasn't even paying attention.
It got like all Rocky Horror interactive theater.
I remember laughing at it, and then it ended. I don't remember how it ended.
About the photo things, it's like it was 2019, 2018. And every year before that, if you don't hear the little and that wind up of those fucking little disposable cameras. Yeah. Specifically that Mailita would take a photo of everybody.
Yeah.
And she still uses them, and I'm like, oh, Lita, you're the only person in the world.
We have phones now.
Yeah. But if you don't hear that little cranking, it's not a holiday.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's how your family is. They have to get pictures of each person with their respected partner, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend.
It's like now the grandchildren, now the great-grandchildren.
Yeah, and then they have to get with,
now the diabetics and the pre-diabetics. You could get in there too. That's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, and like, then we have to take with each of the cousins, if there's any cousins there, then we all have to get.
We need all the cousins together.
And then, Frank, Betty, Rachel, Joel, like all, each individual family.
Yeah.
After the second picture, I'm done. Seriously, like I'll hide, and they'll come and find me, and they'll force me into the picture, and they've done that.
Oh yeah, they will not get. No,
and let's talk about
answer.
the force feeding too.
Well, obviously, I mean, a
Mexican family, you eating.
Yeah, Mexican family, like you're force fed any day, every day.
Remember
like,
when
no your
mom, no, and I thought this was a joke. I just thought like, oh, okay, cute. Your mom went, and it was during a holiday. Your cousin came, and he said he wasn't hungry, like they had all ate or something. The other two cousins did get a little plate of food. She literally took a spoonful of something and held it up to his face, like, until no, eat.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's just even more so on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't even say no. You just like, okay, and you just take it.
Yeah. Or you don't, like, eventually
no.
you will end up with something in front of you, even if you do say no the first time.
Yeah,
even
pointless.
if you go, you grab something, and then you just go sit down, they'll bring you food.
Yeah. It's like, pointless to say no.
Or each one, even if, like, you already had two people already telling, no, go. Like, go get food. Like, go eat something. The person who wasn't in the room at the time will also come out and then tell you to go get food.
Yeah.
Like, can I make you a plate? There'll be tamales, mole, there'll be chili con queso, there'll be, and it's like a little piece of turkey, and then like, it's all the Mexican food, and then a little piece of turkey and stuffing.
Yeah.
That's what you...
So it's always interesting.
Can you imagine, like, how much food, like, how, like, they have to prepare?
It's a lot.
Because, like, if there's, like, 30 people...
Yeah.
And then they might have to plan for more depending on who comes. And some people, just show up.
Especially
bring friends. Yeah.
Back in the day when I was younger, it was a huge...
It was a feast.
Now, not so much.
Did they have to make, like, more than one turkey?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
oh my
of course.
Goodness.
My family would make 2 turkeys and, like, a huge thing of brisket. And that would be, like, the main meat.
Yeah, there'd be 2 turkeys, ham.
Oh, yeah.
We did a ham. And then, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So everything. you guys are all turkey people. Okay.
Well, it was turkey and ham.
Just,
oh,
it was
okay.
a part of the...
Yeah.
Alright, so we always did turkey on Thanksgiving, and then we did ham on Christmas. So that's how we always... and my grandpa likes ham more, so every once in a while, my mom would make a small ham for him on Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Christmas was brisket for us.
The planning that it takes, though, for that many people.
That's what I miss. After like 14 years of not eating meat, that's probably what I miss the most. Is my brisket.
So what do you eat when you?
It was funny when I first became a vegetarian because I was like 16, 17.
Yeah.
And my Lita, like, I went up and my Lita was like, "Mijo, I don't have anything for you." She's like, "It's okay, I'll make you chilaquiles," which are like kind of like enchiladas.
Yeah, it's without meat, basically.
Without meat. And literally for 5 years, she's like, "It's okay, mijo, I made you chilaquiles." And I'm like, oh, God. But she'd be like, there's rice and there's beans. And then she would, like, make me my vegetarian plate.
Oh.
But there's a lot of stuff to eat. Like, she would get me, she didn't make them, but she would get me, like, just green and cheese. Because I'll eat cheese and dairy. Less so now. Well, not really. But... she'd give me like tamales that only had like green chili and cheese, the chili con queso, rice and beans, and then like chilaquiles and chips, and then like bread, and there was plenty to eat. There's always
well, because I was gonna say like some people even make like stuffing like with chicken broth, mashed potatoes are even mixed with chicken broth too.
Yeah,
so I was like,
like
how do you?
Stuff. Like the Spanish rice doesn't. I don't think it does.
I guess it just
Your mom makes it with it.
It can be.
It can be, but my Lita didn't. Yeah. I don't think so. Even if like honestly, like I didn't want to be too much of an inconvenience, so I would probably eat it if it had like even a little bit of broth.
I'll eat bread and carrots.
Well, even the carrots are cooked in.
They shouldn't be.
Those were cooked in the fat of 1,000 animals.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some other cliche like Thanksgiving things.
Cliche.
Do you guys call it dressing or stuffing?
Stuffing.
I think stuffing.
Even if it's not stuffed inside the bird.
I've heard it in my family called both on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So
I personally call
I don't
it
know
for whatever reason.
So for me, it's like I don't fucking know. And for the longest time, because I heard it both different ways on the same day, I thought they were two different things.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, well, what the hell? I thought this was dressing. I was like, or no,
Yeah,
this is
dressing. I
stuffing.
probably
thought
thought was
this
like a gravy.
stuffing. You know, I didn't
Stuffing.
know, and then it's like it's the same fucking thing.
Like I think stuffing and like it is the same thing, but stuffing is traditionally when they put it
is stuffed.
inside the turkey.
Right.
So it can get all the juices.
Right.
Do your guys' family do mostly like homemade stuff or like boxed and canned?
We used to do a lot of homemade. And now there's some shortcuts, I guess.
Yeah. My family always did boxes, pre-made food, canned food.
I think
the only thing we didn't make was probably like the bread, like the rolls. My Elita would always get them from like a bakery.
Yeah. But like your family does a lot of more so now homemade food.
Yeah, it just depends, and it depends on who's making it.
Because
one aunt might be like, "Fuck it, I'm doing canned," or like whatever.
Remember
it just
when
depends.
your mom? Yeah, she bought pre-made pies because usually your mom's. She buys or makes them.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years, a couple of years, she bought them
so
pre-made.
Busy. She like, I'm just gonna buy a pie.
Yeah, and then remember she had us like helping her with the crust, making them look homemade.
Yeah.
So we had to like go around the edges like with our thumbs to make them look like she did it.
Wow.
And then she told us not to tell anybody.
A lie of a century over here. Perfect
the
crime.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is an interesting holiday, and it gets to the point where I question why it's a holiday. And in some way, like it's like you said, it's kind of like the pregame to Christmas. But in some way, especially now after talking about it, it's almost like a mini Christmas. Because in Thanksgiving, oftentimes you see the family that you're not going to see during Christmas. You know what I mean? Or something like that. And so I think if you keep it, whether it's friends or family, I think if you keep it with people that you want to be around, or that you can at least not, if everyone can just not be shitty for that moment, you know what I mean? That'd be pretty good. Or at the very least, you have the power to choose friends and family and stuff like that. And if Thanksgiving stays to family, I think there's a reason for it to exist. But the moment Thanksgiving starts becoming about a lot of other shit, especially
like a
burden or commercial because of fucking Black Friday and all that bullshit, which I hate.
Let's talk a teeny bit about that.
Like Black Friday is insane and stupid.
Most of the time it's kind of bullshit too.
Well,
unless you're going to a specific place, and usually these places will continue to have sales from the end of November to literally almost like the last like day of
like Christmas
before
Eve.
Christmas. The deals are kind of bullshit.
Well, yeah, and
or it's just
a lot
overstock.
A lot of the stuff they have deals for are stuff that they didn't sell during that summer.
Yeah,
and they're like, you gotta get this Black Friday deal, and it's like, motherfucker, no one's heard of a Kizio TV. Like, what is this shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like you're selling all your promotional DVDs for $3, but like that's something that you weren't gonna sell because they were promotional DVDs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like I don't know. I just hate it. And it used to be like just Friday, or it used to be something, and now it's like bleeding into Christmas. Black Friday deals start at 5:00 on Thanksgiving Day. It's like, fuck your family. Don't go and eat.
Yeah,
come buy
shopping.
shit.
It's literally the exact opposite of what you think like giving thanks would be about, and now it's like buying things for things you think you need. It's like it's the juxtaposition between like the Thanksgiving and right immediately after the frenzy and just chaos of Black Friday. They're just two opposite things, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like, are we saying that we're just versatile and we can be both of those kind of girls? Are we just like it's such a like, I don't know. I think it's not hilarious because it keeps happening. It's just more like annoying now.
If it wasn't so sad, it would be funny. Yeah. But it's more sad than it.
Well, and I think about the people who, like the retail workers who had to deal with.
Literally me for so many years of my life. Those kind of sales and having to go on Thanksgiving Day just to deal with these insane people who are just awful and
Jay
rude
too,
and
like
terrible.
working at Target and having to be up at 5 a.m. Sometimes a little earlier to be there.
Well, the last time I was working at Target during Black Friday, I had to be there at 5 a.m. So I was up at 4 a.m. like for some bullshit. You know what I mean?
It's just like That's kind of gross.
I think both of these days. I think Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Well, Black Friday shouldn't exist, and I think both of these days that retail workers should just have off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should.
Yeah, but I mean.
That's not. I know. Like that's not gonna happen. But
yeah, like sentiment again. I just did. That's a cute sentiment.
And just imagine if like everyone. You know, because the corporations and all that big stuff aren't going to stop it. But what if everyone else said no? Like, what if everyone just stayed home on Black Friday? Imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking Christmas miracle levels here. But, like, imagine if people were just like, no. Like, fuck it. I don't need this shit.
Let's spend an extra day with family and just...
I'll order it Cyber Monday and let the...
Well, I don't believe in Black Friday. That's why I do all my shopping online.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll order it Cyber Monday and let all those...
Shit, but I will be on my phone.
I'll let those overworked workers work. At least it's on a Monday.
You know what? I'll just order from Amazon. They're already treated like shit. Right. So you know what?
And at least it's on
next day delivery. Yeah. I mean, you and I have been guilty of shopping on Black Friday, too.
We've never bought anything, but we've went to watch the spectacle.
Yeah, I've been
Well, like, we went to Bath & Body Works to get their buy 3, get 3 free, and buy 1 t-shirt, get 1 50% off. I had a panic attack once.
Going out into that spectacle, and it's like, wow, this is not fun.
Yeah, and then eventually it ends up into us just trying to find a safe place and watching...
And then asking,
like... But I almost had a panic attack, though. In fact, I'm pretty sure I did. And I had to pull my fidget cube out and twirl it in my hand. It freaked me out.
Every year there's some type of new clip that's like, was Black
people
Friday
going
fight? And it's like...
I hate it. I wish that was never perpetuated.
Yeah.
And it is.
It's just... It's kind of just like what we're... Thanksgiving is what we're trying to like show people is the truth, and then Black Friday is like, no, this is the real underbelly.
Yeah,
this
like
is humanity.
it takes over anything that you did the day before.
It's the opposite, or that same, or hours before in this case, because you just had dinner with your family, and now you're ripping someone's, hair out of their
literally
skull.
the theme of any of those like zombie apocalypse movies, like what happens when all that kind of like. All like the truth of human nature is out there.
Comes out, right?
And it's like, oh, we suck.
Yeah. The truth is we suck. I think, like, since Thanksgiving bleeds into Christmas so quickly, if people or if everyone like just kept to what Thanksgiving should be, whereas like family or friends or just like that whole thing, celebrating. Friendship, celebrating family if you have it, whatever it is, and that's it. That's it. Whether you gather around a turkey or a fucking pizza, like that's what it should be about. You know what I mean? And giving thanks, giving thanks to those people, whether it's friends or family or both. And that's what it should be. And fuck everything else. Fuck everything else, because none of that shit's gonna matter. And it doesn't matter. And it's the juxtaposition is so strange. But if we all just stopped and remembered that, maybe we'd enjoy it all a little more.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel touched.
Yeah.
That deserves to be like a monologue at the end of like a stop motion film about like an ugly person, like I don't know, like we'll there's always like some down and under person, and they're like, oh, but the ending's great.
Well, I'm happy to have touched you.
I'm happy to finally be touched. It's been a while,
and I hope I touched all of you out there listening. Boy,
really?
You ruined it.
Okay, I remember the line. Remember the line. Damn it. If I've touched you all, they're listening.
Well, I'm glad, and I hope I touched everyone out there listening. I hope I touched you too.
That sounds really dirty.
What do you mean?
I have not
what?
a faintest clue.
Yeah. I meant touch their hearts and souls.
Oh. Okay, I thought you meant their...
What?
Their body.
Nothing.
Their body?
Yeah.
Fuck it. I mean both. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yay.
May we all be touched however we
By a
want.
turkey.
However we want.
I don't know. Bird
I'm
party.
trying to keep it on theme, guys.
Right, true. Keep it on theme. I hope everyone has a good holidays. We may take the next week off, the week of the 3rd. You may not hear from us.
Yeah, there won't be a podcast the week of the 3rd.
We did.
We are not working Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So this will be out on Thanksgiving week, but we will not be recording a podcast.
Essentially, next week you probably won't hear from us. So remember to follow us Instagram, Last Word LLC, Last Word Podcast, all that. Keep in touch, and we'll keep in touch with you. Joseph, thank you so much as always for joining us and sharing
my stupid shit.
Entertaining shit. I would say. I love it.
Thank you guys for having me.
I love it, and I love you. And I love everyone out there, too, for listening. Thank you for the support. I love you very much. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And we'll see you next time.
Later.